Hello, come on in. Let's check out my office. My favorite thing about my office is it's cozy, it's a comfortable place to get work done in a productive fashion. My wife and kids, they love to call me Captain OCD. And I have every calendar from the time I was 14 years old. I think it's really important to be on top of your game. What allows me to work smart? Hey Google, give me some red lights. Hey Google, give me some regular lights. Basketball reflects my office because it combines every element of my life, my family, my friends, successes, failures, and everywhere in between. You gotta love where you work, and I love where I work. And remember, work smart, not hard. See you next time.
Hello, Jack Armstrong here. Bonjour. Hey, I've been a guest twice on Joe's Sports Channel. Always a great time. Tremendous people. And Joe is the best. He's an absolute rock star. So make sure you tune in and listen. And if you don't, that's your fault. You know what I say to you if you're not listening? Get that garbage out of here. Joe's Sports Channel.
Welcome to Joe's Sports Channel. Good morning to all the wonderful and beautiful Sexy Pinata Boonie believers. It is October 30th, 10:51 a.m. on this beautiful Ontario time here in the great city alone, London, Ontario, Canada. Folks, you see the title. It's been quite some time, but we are bringing back on the phone play-by-play announcer Jack Armstrong. Now, folks, I want to take this moment and sink in this moment. This is not for Joe Booney. This is not for co-host Tino D'Antonio. This is not for host John Bruschetto. This is not for majority of you guys. This is for one specific person and some of the beautiful Booney believers that like Jack Armstrong, Messina D'Antonio. That is Tino D'Antonio's beautiful daughter. We're doing a special thing for Messina. I have a lot of respect for them. You know, they brought me down to Vancouver, stayed at their place, and I said to myself, I got to treat them with a beautiful Jack Armstrong show with you guys. So further ado, Tino D'Antonio, that beautiful sexy pinata, and Messina D'Antonio. Good morning, folks.
Good morning. Good morning. We're happy to be here, Joe. And it's for me, it's it's just an absolute blessing to have my daughter next to me, who's just one hell of a Raptor fan. And of course, she just loves Jack Armstrong. And I guess one thing you were really looking forward to is having, can you get Scotty Barnes on for even 5 minutes?
I was honestly just excited to talk to Jack.
Right on.
Either way.
Jack's an incredible. Don't be nervous. He's like a relative of yours. I'm serious. When I first had him on the show.
Hey, don't throw that out there.
I'll tell you something. When we have Jack on the phone, at the end of the show, I wrote it down too. We're going to have a request from him saying, Messina, get that garbage out of here. I'm going to send you that clip so you can remember for a very long time. And for the futures of tomorrow, we're going to have you on the Joe Booney Show, Messina. So what are you looking forward to in Jack's conversation tonight, Messina?
Tonight?
Yes.
Tonight.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
People
in different countries. You know, we have people in Australia.
Well, I don't think she heard you clearly, Joe.
I said, what do you expected to hear from Jack today, tonight, this evening, from him specifically?
Positive things.
Positive things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
she's just looking forward to meeting him, Joe. This is a big step for a young lady. Messina will elaborate a little further as to what her future endeavors are, and her just what she has deep inside as a passion is what she wants to do, and I think she'll express that somewhere in the broadcast.
When I was down in Vancouver and I watched the Raptors against the Grizzlies, I'll never forget her emotions. I'm like a Leaf fan. Remember when I was spitting at the TV for the Vancouver? At least she wasn't spitting at the TV. She was cursing, yelling, the energy, that comeback from a 25 definition comeback in the fourth, the energy that
Yes.
your daughter has for the Toronto Raptors. She deserves to speak with Jack Armstrong. She deserves to speak with Scotty Barnes. She deserves to speak with all these Raptors, and we're going to get her more into the future on the Joe Sports channel. I'll tell you that right now.
Excellent. Excellent.
We are 5 minutes away from calling Mr. Jack. If you guys have any
Oh, is
questions.
that when you're calling Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure Messina has some questions. I mean, at the end of the day, Joe, it's you know, I'm a busy person, as you know, and I tried really hard to make it home for the games. And the way my schedule and itinerary seems to work, every time there's a game, especially when it's a really, really close, good game like the last game, I always have
It's
to,
overtime.
yeah, and I have to leave with like 5 minutes left to go pick up my wife. And it always, you know, I come home and I go, well, you know, I say to Messina, well, oh, you know, we lost in overtime, but it was still a good game. And I don't know how I'm going to fix that up in the future. Maybe when I come home, you know, give me the replay for that 5 minutes or 8 minutes if it went into overtime, and I get to watch it without her saying anything. But she gives me the news when I get home. The deeds, the deeds.
One thing about the game of basketball, every quarter is 12 minutes, but there's so much interesting plays in the game. Like you looked at the Denver Nuggets game, that was a tough game. Like the Raptors had so many opportunities to win that game and capitalize, but unfortunately, you know, the veteran team, you know, Jamal Murray and Djokovic were the ones to answer. And they're a good future team. They're like for a young team like Grady Dick and Scotty Barnes, they got a good future team. I think they have actually a better future team this year and the futures of tomorrow than when you had Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry, and et cetera, right? So they look good. They look good.
Why doesn't even really?
Yeah. So
No. It's I think what it is, honey, is you know when somebody's speaking and if we try talking over them, and it's just the way the system works. But yeah, I mean, when you go back 2-3 years, it was a totally different team. I've always been of the opinion, you know, when they got traded Kyle Lowry and just some of these names, and these were like the front end people of the team. These were the players, the stars of the team, and now they're elsewhere. And I keep saying to Messina, you know, I hope they bring back Kyle Lowry, you know, because I think Kyle.
Well, he wants to retire.
He wants to retire as a Raptor.
That's his plan.
I mean, I don't know how that all works in the mix, but that's what he wants. Whether the Raptors have room to accommodate him on his last wish, his last request, let's call it. I mean, that would be interesting. But we see a lot of these bench players that are playing that have come up as superstars. Like, I mean, they're up and coming superstars.
Yeah.
Right?
Like even guys like Norman Powell or like OG Anunoby.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, like what happened? Why this change? And
well, we're going through a rebuild right now.
Absolutely.
When you look at teams like
yeah.
What were you saying?
I said, look at teams like OKC.
Mm-hmm.
They went through a complete rebuild, and look at them now.
Yeah, for sure.
We are 1 minute away. I'm going to go ahead and call Jack. So
okay, let's call.
Jack Armstrong, folks.
Hi, you've reached Jack Armstrong. I'm not available to take your call right now. Please leave your name and number.
I guess we have another minute. He'll probably call me.
Yeah, he'll see the phone come up and that the time is near. He'll probably call you.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, Joe, just while we're waiting, that's such a great blessing that you have a guy like Jack Armstrong that communicates with you and has given you the opportunity to have him on your show. That's, to me, it's huge. It's huge. And we were talking about that earlier. right? We were talking about that earlier. So that's a blessing in itself. So good for
It
you.
is.
Good for you.
Thank you. I've had him multiple times, actually, no, a few times.
And you also have some other great names that come onto your broadcast, you know.
Yeah.
That's just all a part of building and building over, you know, months, if not years. And it takes a lot of time to get to these stages because you're still early in the stage if you think about it.
It's a big competition. That's the broadcasting is a huge competition.
Well, huge. And now that you're doing hammerlock wrestling, I find those broadcasts pretty interesting. I really do.
They're pretty fun.
You know,
They're pretty
especially when you got the wrestlers coming up and they're talking and they're saying their bit. And you know, I get what goes on behind the scenes, but it's kind of cool when you see these wrestlers coming on and they're saying they're and
screwed. It was a Montreal screw job.
yeah,
Ah, there's Jack Armstrong, folks.
there he is.
Good morning, Jack.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Good. Are we doing the interview this way?
Yes, we are. We're live right now. I have my co-host Tino D'Antonio, and I have his lovely daughter that is a huge fan of you.
Okay, terrific.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Tino, Messina, Jack, Messino, and Tino. Jack, you know, the Raptors have an incredible start to their season, but unfortunately they lost the Denver Nuggets very close a couple of days ago. My question to you, Jack, they're a young team. What are your expectations for the Raptors this season? Do you think that they are compete for a play-on spot?
You know, my expectations for the Raptors, Joe, are to be super competitive, play the games really hard. And, you know, I guess the games that jump off the page at me would be the win over Philadelphia at home and even the overtime loss to Denver. I mean, those stand out to me. You know, if you have that kind of effort every night against good teams, you know, even in some decent stretches against Minnesota, we didn't see it opening night against Cleveland. But overwhelmingly, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, you know, realistically speaking, this is a marginal playoff team at best. You know, like a team that trying to, you know, sneak into, you know, the 7th or 8th spot or be a play-in team. That's kind of, and they have to be clicking on all cylinders and have to be healthy. And unfortunately, the strength of the schedule early on has been really difficult. And then on top of that, you know, with the amount of injuries they have, I think it's just been really, really difficult. So, but, you know, I'm encouraged so far. I like, you know, the younger players that they brought in. And I'm pretty excited about where they're going to take this thing.
I'm pretty excited too. And I see the futures of these teams tomorrow. Like you look at Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes. Like I see this team, this core better than Kawhi Leonard, you know, Kyle Lowry. That team from a few years ago, like I see a championship caliber team the next 3 or 4 years. The chemistry is there for the Raptors. It's just they got to build for the future, and the future is today, Jack, for the Raptors.
Well, I mean, obviously that's a loaded statement you just made. I honestly at this point am not sure what exactly this team shapes up to be. Because these guys are so young, and there's a lot of runway, and there's a long journey ahead to see how guys develop and grow. So I don't like comparing one era to another or one player to another. I don't know what it's going to look like. I just know that what I'm seeing right now is a group that's playing the game hard, together. They're trying to do the right things. I think they're over, you know, in the 4 games that they've played so far, and even if you want to count the 5 preseason games they've played, I think overwhelmingly there's good buy-in between the players and the coaching staff. I mean, they're doing the right things, and so I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing. Now, is that going to add up to a 60-win season and a championship? I don't know. I don't think so, but nonetheless, I do think that it's going to add up to progress. And again, I think fans are realistic, and I think Masai Ujiri has kind of created the mentality of kind of where this is going and the vision of it, and that it's going to be a build. It's going to take some time. But I like the young pieces that they have, and you got to keep building on that.
Messina?
I'm kind of put on the spot here because my dad, he just told me to jump in, and now I'm on the spot. I totally agree with Jack. I don't really like to compare eras of players either. I don't really feel like, I don't know, that era was pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was. It was. But I'm sure your thoughts on the current team, the current roster. I mean, you've sung into my ear in terms of, how the team is building, the Grady Dix, the Scotty Barnes.
I really like RJ Barrett.
I do too. But then again, as like Jack mentioned, it depends really on the health, the injury issues, and that could have a really profound effect on what we're seeing, because this team is starting to communicate. There's momentum. There's all kinds of great positive feeling when you're watching a game and how these guys connect. I mean, you don't even see a pass happening and bang, it happens, and you're going, where did that pass happen from? Right?
I don't remember who the pass was.
I think
it was
one. Reminded me of like a Steph Curry and a Klay Thompson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Sorry, Jack, you were saying something?
They put a lot of effort in this off season. Spent some time together in Spain. Spent some time together in Florida. RJ Barrett, I said it on the air the other night. Said this is the most he spent in his short time as a professional with his teammates in the off season, and you could see, even though again they're down in numbers because of injuries and the quality of competition is very difficult. You could see that they're together, and I give Coach Starko and his staff a lot of credit in terms of there's a chemistry there. There's a role definition. There's a look of a team. So I'm encouraged if they can get a Bruce Brown and a Kelly Olynyk and Jacoby Walter. And obviously today as we speak, they're playing Charlotte tonight, and Scotty Barnes isn't available. Emmanuel Quickly, guys like that. If you can start getting, some of your top players and some of your veteran players back and your number one pick, and give them the opportunity to gel a little bit, I think it's a positive. So, yeah, the problem they have is their margin of error is slim, and when you start taking guys out of the lineup, it becomes harder and harder to sustain over a long period of time. So that's the thing that they have to battle.
For sure. Joe, I know Jack's only got a little bit of time. Did you want to run that clip and maybe you can have some comments?
I'd love to run that clip of Scotty Barnes and Russell Westbrook, and we want to get our thoughts on Messina and from Jack. So give me a moment to get this video up and going. Right here.
It's an excellent. Now you got to get your stops.
One field goal the last 3:30 of the third. The turnover. Pardue. That is a tough, vicious foul, and Scotty Barnes not liking it. Westbrook, and now Gordon coming over, and the Raptors trying to hold back Gordon. Some pushing. Outstretched like that. That was a very dangerous play by Westbrook. And Gordon telling Scotty.
There you go. Stand up for yourself.
Yeah, Scotty
Not
telling Westbrook and Gordon.
That's good for Scotty Barnes. Don't take any of that. You know what?
And it's
Tino?
Well, when that happened, I was up on my feet. I was yelling as loud as Scotty Barnes. And the one thing that was in my mind is we just don't need another serious injury with one of our star players like Scotty Barnes, right? And what happened there and how it happened, and and I'm just going to leave it with, when Jack on air said, that's great, Scotty. You don't have to take that. What? Well, we know what Jack was talking about, and I'm going to throw it to the scene. What's your thought about that?
I mean, kind of typical Westbrook.
But he's one of your.
I like Westbrook,
he's
but
one of your favorite players.
He tends to.
I don't know. I just didn't. I mean, somebody could have got seriously hurt, and then with Gordon coming into the mix, I thought, what the hell is going on here? Like, this shouldn't be happening. It was a flagrant foul. Somebody could have seriously gotten hurt. But at the end, everybody was okay. The tempers were up there, and the feelings were up, running high, and so forth. And I'm going to throw it back to Jack and see what he says.
Well, that's why they have the rule in place about flagrant 1, flagrant 2. I thought the officials administered it properly.
Yes.
And mentioned, everyone settled down and calmed down and went back to playing. It was an unfortunate situation. Yeah, it was a flagrant foul by Westbrook because he didn't make a play on the ball. And I thought Scotty handled himself properly. And look, bottom line is, I thought the Raptors played their hearts out that game and showed a lot of toughness and a lot of grit. Unfortunately, Scotty got hurt late in the game, but when he got hit by an inadvertent shot from Jokic, and that's unfortunate. But that's all part of playing. That those things do happen. But again, I think there's good togetherness with this group. I think they're trying to do the right things. And I had the opportunity to watch them at training camp in Montreal, and I was really impressed by the camp that Coach Darko and his staff ran, and the buy-in from the players. And so I think everyone's on board with what they're doing and trying to get accomplished. And, your guess is as good as mine where it's going to go and how it's going to turn out. But nonetheless, the vibe, the feeling, I don't get bad vibes. I get good vibes when I'm around the group.
Jack, where do you put, in your category, Scotty Barnes? There were so many great Raptors over the years, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry. We can go on forever. But Scotty Barnes, in your era of books, where do you?
Well, Joe, I mentioned earlier about comparison. He's a different player than any of those guys. When you talk about Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, Chris Bosh, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Scotty's not like them, and they're not like him. He's a different player. Pascal Siakam, whoever, Fred VanVleet, whoever, Damon Stoudemire, wherever you want to go with it, he's a different player. His game's different. So it's hard for me to compare him to any of those guys because he plays a different game. He's a more versatile. He's a guy that's going to, he almost had a triple-double the other night. He's a guy that's going to get a block. He's a guy that's going to fill up the stat sheet and do a lot of different things. Is he going to be a guy that goes out every night and gets you 30 points? That's not his game. Is he going to be a guy that goes out there and gets 7 blocks? Well, probably not. But is he a guy that can impact winning on a multitude of platforms? I would say yes, absolutely, definitely. So he's got intriguing upside, and he's got intriguing potential. Only time will tell how far he goes with it. A lot of that will be dependent on the roster construction around him in terms of the other 14 guys he gets to play with. You look at a guy like Chris Bosh. Chris was a very good player for the Raptors. Then when you put him in a situation like Miami where he was like the third guy, he was absolutely brilliant. And yet, Chris is in the Hall of Fame. So much. Sometimes players have to carry too much of the weight when the roster around them isn't up to that, and you don't get to see all their greatness. And I think the good thing for Scotty is that he's had the opportunity to play with some good players early in his career, like OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, yada, yada, yada. And then he's also had to carry the load a little bit. And so a lot will depend on the roster they put around him. I would say it's important to have a lot of good perimeter shooting around him because he's such a great passer, and he's that guy that's going to attract a second defender, and that makes your team that much better, and he's a willing passer. He's a winner. So there's a lot of good things there.
For sure. We got one more question. Messina or Tino, any questions for Jack?
I had one question for you, Jack, before you go. What advice or guidance would you have for a young person like myself looking to pursue sports journalism as a career?
Well, I think the most important thing is persistence. You got to really stay after it and be dedicated to it because the best thing is doing it, actually. Like what you're doing right now, getting the experience on air, writing, getting an internship, volunteering, being willing to pay your dues, and when you are being paid, walking in and saying, hey, whatever salary is going to be in play, I'm here to work, I'm here to grind. Mentorship, finding people in the industry that you can speak to and get input and ideas on, how you go about becoming better. Because I think a big problem in our business is everyone tells you great job, great job, great job, and nobody actually tells you the truth. And then after you go, what just happened? I'm not doing it anymore because nobody. So you need people in your circle that actually will give you honest critiques and advice and tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. But there's no doubt in my mind that, and I'm around people every day that are in the business, the ones that are most persistent and that are willing to work at it and overcome difficult odds to make it are the ones that get through. So it's a fun industry. I love it. I've enjoyed it. This is obviously my second career after leaving coaching, and it's been a lot of fun and a tremendous journey, and I continue to enjoy it to this day.
Jack, I have one request before I let you go, if it's possible. Would it be possible if you can say, Messina D'Antonio, can you get that garbage out of here, your gameplay?
Messina, get that garbage out of here.
Thank you so much, Jack.
So much, Jack.
Looking forward to having you on the show, The Futures of Tomorrow. And I'm coming down to Toronto in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can go for a coffee or something if it's possible.
All right, Joe, and have a great enjoy. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks, Jack.
Okay, you got it.
Take care.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
My pleasure. Have a great day. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Jack Armstrong, play-by-play announcer. I love the final question, Messina. That was the best. It was good for you.
Yeah, that was a great question. Great
question.
Yeah. And he answered it, he answered it from his heart. And it made
I feel like that motivated me a little more.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. Coming from Jack Armstrong, who's been through
I'm
it.
a little starstruck right now.
You know what? We got 17 minutes out of him. Not 15. We got an extra 2 because of Messina's good question. So that was good too.
Right on. That was very nice, Joe, that you could make this happen and that Jack accommodated the moment for Messina. This will be, her first live broadcast to do with the sport that she's really passionate about, and which is basketball. And, with who else on the line, the voice of the Raptors, Jack Armstrong. So that's a huge impact on a resume per se, and of course Messina's future endeavors in getting into journalism and live broadcasting. So hopefully maybe next time that we can get Jack on live, we can have a live conversation with Jack and Messina in the futures of tomorrow.
We'll do that. And I want to, before I let everybody go, I just want to tell Messina something. Always chase your dreams no matter what. Never doubt yourself. Never give up. And I always say this to every broadcast that I talk about. I've always had a dream of interviewing Jack Armstrong. I actually dreamed about interviewing the guy on camera. I woke up one day. I put my time and effort to broadcast for all the Booney Believers. I used to do crazy stuff. But I woke up one day and he wrote me an email. It says, "You're on." So anything's possible in life if you can put your heart where it is, and you can become anything. You can be the next Michael Jordan. You can become the best doctor. You can become like your father. But chase your dreams. Never give up.
Hope not.
I'll tell you something. Your father, I respect like my own damn father. So you guys are incredible individuals.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks
for your kind words of support. We
No
really appreciate it. And it was an enlightening broadcast. It was a great broadcast. Really tough for her to do this. And hopefully we can do it in the future, because to overcome some of that anxiety, which is something that Messina has always been dealing with. And that is, a breakthrough. And it's a blessing. So I hope that next time it's going to be a lot more easier.
It should be.
I think so. And we'll leave it at that.
Messina, before I let you go, I broadcast hockey games. And I'm more nervous doing these shows than actually going to live events. So you did incredible today. Don't ever think you did better. Even that last question, you said, I'm going to send that clip to you. And you can post that wherever you want to post it, because you did absolutely fabulous. Compared to you, you can't compare apples to apples. You did a good job. You did a very good job. So applause to you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself, both of you. Have a lovely weekend.
Okay. Yeah, and you have a great day there, Joe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Folks, that wraps up the interview with Jack Armstrong, Messina D'Antonio, Tino D'Antonio. Incredible questions. Joe Booney did great. Tino did great. Messina, and thank you once again to Jack Armstrong for coming on the Joe Sports Channel. We look forward to having him for the futures of tomorrow, and maybe we can even get Scotty Barnes for the one and only Messina D'Antonio. Guys, I got to run. I got a busy day. I got the London Nationals a little bit later on tonight. The Nationals on our big roll, 7-game winning streak. Let's go there and broadcast later on tonight. I'll see you guys all later on tonight. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you.